Hi, welcome to a new year at ThreatTraq Essentials. I'm here today with Ken Walsh. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing well, Don. How are you doing?
Great. Okay, let's get started here. Let's talk about some of the stories that were covered on today's ThreatTraq. The first one is George brought us a story about a McAfee phishing campaign. Now, we see a lot of phishing campaigns. What was different or unusual about this one?
So this one was different in that it might not even be going to people who necessarily have McAfee, just that it's disguising itself, trying to say your McAfee subscription has expired. Click this link to renew and to further protect your computer or computers in the future. So it's interesting in that regard that it's offering you McAfee service supposedly, and it's trying to scare you in the effect that you're no longer protected if you even had McAfee service going into that. And if you click that buy now link, it would infect you with something, so to speak. So it looks like it even offers a little unsubscribe button, but I didn't see if that actually does anything. I'm sure it doesn't.
Well, obviously you don't want to click on any of those links, but what advice can we take away from this? I mean, this really seems to be a social engineering tactic of, that fear. It's kind of like fear of missing out in a sense, right? You're worried that even if you're not sure you have something, that somehow you need to correct it. So what advice can we give people?
Right. I think especially because this was delivered via email, we can go back to some of the things that we've probably heard on this channel and other channels before, just simply checking who's the sender of the email. Did it actually originate from McAfee, even if it looks like it on the email, verifying the domain that it came from, or even just going to the McAfee website itself and not clicking any of the links in the email, just going to the McAfee website, and if you are a McAfee subscriber, going and trying to re-up that way instead of relying necessarily on clicking a link in the email. If it's something that you're opening on a PC or a desktop, you can always hover over the link, or if you're on a mobile device, I believe it's if you just hold the link, it'll pop up the link that you're supposed to be potentially opening. So that's one way you could do it without actually clicking it to validate it. And worst case, if you don't know, don't click it. Taking, I think as David mentioned in one of the segments, a zero trust approach to it. So if you can't definitively say it's authentic, potentially report it as spam, just delete it. Don't look at it or click it.
Okay, Ken, so even though it's the beginning of the year, a lot of times we do cybersecurity trends. We just did a few weeks ago the top cybersecurity trends in 2021. You brought us a story about trends for 2022. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's always interesting to see what either yourself or others in the industry are thinking are coming, or the threats that might exist for the coming year. Not that they're always necessarily 100% correct, but just to get an idea of what the collective community is thinking about. So there are several different things that seem to be at the forefront here. There's potentially more interest from governments in getting more proactive in cybersecurity. There's the constant threat of social engineering, supply chains, ransomware as a service, small medium businesses being targeted, and even the need for better coordination across the industry or collaboration between different vendors and partners in order to improve the cyberspace. So it's really interesting to see what the different experts think is potentially just on the horizon for 2022.
Well, we'll have to see if that's the case. And in the meantime, if people want to learn more about those trends, they can click on the story below here and look at it in more depth. Finally, David brought us a story about, this is something interesting, I don't think we've covered before, about how copying and pasting commands from a web page can be a threat. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So David brought us a really interesting story, and as he pointed out, it's not necessarily new, but if you don't necessarily know the website or the place that you're copying text from, just because you click copy on something doesn't mean you're necessarily copying the text that you're reading. There might be different text in the back end code that you're actually copying to your clipboard. And so if you just take that text and try to paste it into, say, a terminal, you might actually execute some payload instead of whatever the command was supposed to be. So just by taking it and maybe putting it into Clip or something like a notepad, you can help get yourself around that. But David found a really interesting article. That's something that people don't always necessarily think about.
So you may want to check that out, like you were saying, right, and paste it somewhere else and check out what's really there before putting it, pasting into terminal or something like that.
Yeah, and going to what I think David even mentioned, the zero trust model. Just don't assume it's safe. It's really make sure it is before you try to do something with that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ken, for being here this week. Thank you all for watching. As always, if you want to hear great stories like this every week and get this great advice every week, like and subscribe below. And please, if you want to take a deeper look at any of these stories, just click on them and watch them in their entirety. We'll see you next time.